What if you could manage your entire business in just 14 seconds from a single spreadsheet? In this video, I'm gonna give you a behind the scenes look at my CEO dashboard. I'll show you how I build them, I'll show you how I use them, and I'll show you the metrics that I track. I'll even drop a link to my CEO dashboard template down in the description, so be sure to check that out too. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Deiss, and my partners and I manage 17 businesses across our $200 million holding company. And this CEO dashboard is how we make data-driven decisions without going insane. Let's get into it. All right, so before I get into the CEO dashboard itself, showing you how to use it, how to build it, how to customize it, there are 4 core principles that you really need to understand if you want to get the most out of this. Core principle number 1, you've got to keep it simple. Now, as you will see when you get into it, we use Google Sheets. We use Google Sheets, and again, the template, our template, it is included in the description, but the reason that we use Google Sheets is simple. It's not that we don't know that there are fancier business intelligence tools out there. We do. We paid for them. I've spent many tens of thousands of dollars on business intelligence tools only to go back time and time again to good old Google Sheets. Why? Because it just works. So often these business intelligence tools require entire teams to set up and run, and the second one little data feed breaks, the entire system becomes unusable, people don't trust it, and it's just a massive waste of time and space. So, core principle number 1, keep it simple, do what we do, stick with Google Sheets. We got 8-figure businesses running off of this thing. Trust me, it's gonna work for you. Core principle number 2, track it weekly. Now, as you will see when you get into our actual CEO dashboard, or as we like to call it, the company scorecard template, you will see that we track on a week-to-week basis. Specifically, we track Monday through Sunday. And so the way that this works is my team will come in on Monday morning, and the first thing that they do is they input all the data for all the different metrics from the previous week. Now, the reason that we track weekly instead of daily or monthly is because we found that weekly really is a sweet spot. If you're tracking daily or even in real time, there's a lot of noise. Things are up and down, they're all over the place, and you can get a lot of false positives and you can get a lot of false negatives. So at the same time, if you wait an entire month to go back and look at data, it's not really enough time to be agile to actually take action on the data. So we really have found weekly is the sweet spot. Track weekly. Core principle number 3, make it manual. Now, this is the one that I get the most pushback on by far. People will tell me, they're like, oh, do you realize that you could create a macro that would automatically pull in this data? Or do you realize, because we use some color coding, you'll see that in just a second, do you realize that you could program it, inside of Google Sheets to where, if you're 80% of your goal, it's yellow, and if you're over, it's green? Yes, I realize all of that, and I don't want to do any of it, and I don't want you to do any of it either. This scorecard is manual by design, and yours should be too. And the reason is, when you have automated scorecards, when you have automated dashboards, when the data just magically appears on the screen, then what you have is data. What you don't have is insight. And the difference between data and insight is when a human being who knows what the heck is going on actually looks at that data and goes, you know what? Now that I think about it, this is this way because of X, Y, and Z. If it's not manual, you're not going to get insight. You're also going to find if you don't ask your people to manually input their own data, they're not going to know their numbers. I promise you, across all of our different portfolio companies, I could ask a marketing leader, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Marketing Leader, how many leads did this particular site get last month? And guess what? They would be able to tell me, because every single week they are manually going into the CRM. They're manually going into Google Analytics, and they're manually copying over that information and manually pasting it into the scorecard. And that manual process is where they begin to truly know their data, and it's when they begin to truly own their data. And that ownership part is really important. So when it comes to your scorecards, make it manual. I get it. It seems like it's going to be a giant waste of time. I promise it'll be one of the most high leverage activities you and your team do each and every week. All right, core principle number 4, your company scorecard, your CEO dashboard needs to mirror your value engines. Now, we're not getting into value engines in this particular video, but one of the things that we do talk about, and I actually cover this inside of the $200 million case study report that I'll also link to in the description. One of the things that you need to do if you're going to have a comprehensive operating system is you need to actually map what we refer to as your value engine. So there's a growth engine that shows how customers happen. There's a fulfillment engine that shows how you fulfill upon the customers. And these visual descriptions, these visual flow charts of how your business works, this really is the first step. Don't worry, I'll have a totally different video on that one. I'm not going to leave you hanging here, but just know that once you have these done, the next thing that you need to get to before you go in and create your scorecards is you need to ask the question, how do we know that these are working? Okay, all these different steps and stages, how do we know that they're working? Because when it comes time to actually determining what are the metrics that you're going to be tracking, well, they should be driven by what are the different stages of your value engine. Again, don't sweat this one too much. This is something that we're absolutely going to be covering in another video. I just wanted to mention it here because it is an important core principle. All right, so now that you know what a CEO dashboard is, now that you know what makes ours different, and I would argue better from some of the other ones that are out there, let's get into the actual step-by-step of how you can create one for your company. So digging into it right now, step number one is you need to define your metrics categories. And the metrics categories are these sections that you see right here. So you can see here we've got evergreen metrics, we've got North Star metrics, we have marketing. Here, you know what? Let me be a nice guy and actually zoom in a little bit for you. There you go, how's that? So these are the metrics categories. Now, in general, with the company scorecard, we're gonna have evergreen metrics, and evergreen metrics, as the name would suggest, are metrics that we're just gonna track on an ongoing basis. Revenue, cash collected, revenue per employee. Maybe you wanna track things like NPS. These tend to be more of the financial metrics that would just be kind of a really nice to have. So that's what you see here with the evergreen metrics. Now, the North Star metrics, these are the ones that for us at least, if you're following our scalable operating system framework, these are the metrics that are going to change each and every week. And specifically, they're going to change each and every week when you go in and you set your quarterly sprint plan. So each quarter you would go in, you would decide what are the major initiatives that you're going to track and what are the North Star metrics that you're going to emphasize. It's important to note, these North Star metrics aren't new metrics, okay? These North Star metrics are metrics that you're likely already tracking further down on your company scorecard. Just with these particular metrics, you're plucking them out and saying that you want to highlight them. Then what we typically will have is we'll have categories based on the different departments. So marketing, sales, your product or your programs department, maybe technology, maybe support, those types of areas. So that is step one, define your metrics categories. Step two is we need to actually choose the metrics that we're going to be tracking. Now, evergreen metrics, again, these particular metrics, you're going to decide what do you as a leadership team want to see. I'm giving you ours right here. Revenue, cash collected, revenue per employee. Sometimes we're tracking NPS. It really just depends. The North Star metrics, this is what's going to be set when you as a leadership team decide, okay, these are the 3 to 4, ideally no more than 5 metrics that we really want to focus and emphasize. These are 3 to 5 metrics that we're going to look to optimize by executing certain key initiatives like you see here. These are the ones we're going to really highlight. So that's how you pick those. These are going to stick around each month, typically for the entire quarter. Sometimes they'll roll over. Then when you get into the team metrics, the temptation is to go to your department head and say, hey, what are 3 to 5 metrics that we should be tracking for your department? And that's a good way to do it, but a better way to do it, especially for like your sales and marketing team, would be to go to, in this case, and I'll zoom out a little bit, your growth engine. So if you have not seen this case study video on our $200 million scalable OS case study, I would definitely watch that again. It'll be linked up in the description, but I talk about here, and I also talk about it in this report, about the importance of mapping your value engines and the process for doing that. But once you have mapped these value engines, it's really simple to say, okay, marketing team, we're running Facebook and Instagram ads. How do we know that these are working? What are the metrics we track to know that these are working? This lead magnet, this webinar landing page, how do we know this is working? We're going to look to track things like conversion rate. People are going to book a meeting. How do we know that that's working at an acceptable rate? These metrics here should begin to inform the metrics that you're tracking on your company scorecard for the marketing department. Similarly, for your sales team, when you get into how many people actually attended a meeting? What was our close rate? How many offers did we present? If you look at this particular growth engine, it will begin to inform the metrics that you should be tracking per department. Now, another point that I want to make is that typically each of your main departments, they're going to have their own scorecards that they're tracking that go into much greater depth. This is just what are the 3 to 5 per department that you want to roll up to the company scorecard, to your CEO dashboard. That's what we're talking about here. And you just continue that on for your product and your programs team. In this case, you would then, you might look at your fulfillment engine if that's documented. So you can just ask your different team members, your different managers, hey, what are the 3 that we should track for you? That's fine, but it's a lot better if it aligns to your actual value flows, your actual value creation. So that's step 2. choosing your metrics. Step 3, and this is the one that everybody forgets, we need to choose a metric owner. This is so incredibly important. If nobody owns a metric, then I can assure you that metric will not get optimized. So what we want to ask is, who on the team is uniquely responsible for this particular metric? Not just the getting and the gathering of the metric and the reporting on the metric, but ideally, who's the person who's uniquely accountable for optimizing that metric? So in this case, for the product and programs team at this company, Net Promoter Score is something that they're tracking, and that's going to be Carly Gregg, who is the head of client success. How many customer wins did we get, right? That's also Carly. What about the member net gain? Well, that one's Betty. And you could see on and on and on and on. Every metric needs an owner. It's not just step 3. It's one of the most important steps of all. And I can promise you, if you're struggling with having scorecards that actually matter and with getting those scorecards updated, getting the reporting accurate, the best way to fix it is to put a name next to the scorecard. If somebody's name is next to that scorecard, there is no ambiguity, no questions whatsoever about who is uniquely responsible. Step number 4, we need to set the monthly target. So the monthly target you can see is right here. As I mentioned before, we're going to track based on week. So week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. We typically track Monday through Sunday. That's why you have this remainder column here. But before we start tracking moving forward, we want to identify what is the monthly target. And the monthly target is important because this is where you decide ahead of time what winning looks like. So no revisionist history, no getting to the end of the month and saying, oh yeah, I don't think we quite did what we were hoping to do, but we learned a lot. None of that BS, none of that garbage, okay? Whether something was good or bad cannot be ambiguous. Everybody needs to agree ahead of time at what winning is, and that is defined by this monthly target. So in this case with this company, how many new leads and subscribers do they want to generate? Well, 6,000 in a month. So 6,000 is the goal. That means if they get to 5,000, they're not high-fiving. They're saying, yeah, 5,000 is okay, but the goal was 6,000, so we missed. How do we get better? If they get to 7,000, they're definitely high-fiving. Maybe they're raising those targets. So we want to set the monthly target, and it's important the setting of the monthly target should be a collaboration between you, the CEO, the department head, and whoever actually owns the metric. If they own the metric, they should have a voice in the target. And I can tell you from my perspective, what I typically do is I'm going to push my team just a little bit and say, oh, can you get me a little bit more? But ultimately, if I see resistance, I'm going to say, you know what? Let's go with your number. It is more important to me that we set goals that we hit than that every goal be a stretch. I want our team to set goals that we actually hit. One of the most demotivating things to a team is to set goals and then consistently miss those goals. So if they're kind of in doubt, they're like, we might be able, I feel like we might be able to get to 7,500 leads, but I know for a fact we get to 6,000. You know what? Let's do it. Let's go with 6,000. Let's go with your number. So set the monthly target. Step 5 is simple: track and report weekly. So the first week of the month, you're going to come in here and you're going to say, okay, how do we do for these? And again, the data entry on each of these is manual. So the team is going to go and look. They're going to go look in the CRM. How many new leads and subscribers did we get last week, Monday through Sunday? They're going to enter this here. How many meetings were booked in the CRM? They're going to enter that here. The marketing team, how much media spend did we have? How many new subscribers were added? How many meetings got booked? In terms of the new deals, okay, we had 3 deals. What was the Net Promoter Score last week? You get the idea. Every week they come in, and that's the first thing for us that they do on Monday. Now, you could choose to go, Wednesday to Thursday. Whatever time frame you pick doesn't matter as much as long as you're consistent. That's why you can update the actual date range here. The important thing is that you be consistent, and the important thing again is that you make it manual. When the team is forced to go through and actually manually enter this information, they will know their numbers. But we don't just want to manually enter the data itself, we also want to manually adjust the status. And you can see here, we've got green, yellow, light red, and red. And the difference is pretty simple. If it is on track or ahead of goal, it's green. On track or ahead of goal is green. If we're a little bit behind, but we believe we can catch up, then that's light green, or sometimes at the end of the month, as you can see here, missed, but didn't miss by enough, so we went ahead and let them stay light green there. Now, yellow is behind, but with a plan. So in this case, you can see this one was behind, yellow, but with a plan. Now, when I say a plan, what that means is I want to see some type of comment, and I want to see some type of plan mentioned here in this notes column. So this notes column is designed for people to add a little bit of context, which is good for people who maybe don't make the meeting or they don't quite understand what's going on, but it is essential. If you want to say that the status is yellow when you're behind, you need to have a plan, and that plan needs to be referenced in the notes column. If you do not have a plan for turning yellow to green, right, or a reason that it will come back, then in that case, it's not yellow, it is light red. Light red is we're behind, We're not so far behind that we can't catch up, but I don't know how we're gonna do it. And then red, of course, is we're so far behind, we're not gonna catch up, or by the end of the month, if you missed and you missed badly, it is red. So that is how the color coding comes into place, right? And this is where I say is the difference between data and insight, right? Data is just looking at all these different numbers. Insight is looking at the status and then scrolling over and looking at the notes column and having your team tell you exactly what they're gonna do to turn red to yellow and yellow to green. And just so you know, that's the key. That's the essence. That is what we refer to as scorecard-based leadership. Your job as a leader when you have one of these scorecards in place is really simple. Ask the questions of your team that are gonna help them execute the projects and key initiatives that turn red metrics yellow and yellow metrics green. That is so incredibly important. I hope that you are grasping the simplicity of that. Your job is not to have all the answers. Your job is to track the metrics and to put the right people in the right roles who know how to turn red to yellow and yellow to green. When you do that, you're executing scorecard-based leadership. When you do that, your company's gonna grow. When you do that, your company is absolutely going to scale. And that's why I say this company scorecard, my CEO dashboard, this is how. It's really, really simple. I'll show you what I do every single Monday. I open up a scorecard like this, I look around and I see a lot of green, a lot of green. Oh, we got some yellow over here in terms of the sales and programs. I might ask about that. Oh, wait, looks like they've already got a plan for it. Never mind. If they've already got it figured out, then I'm not gonna bother them with it. I trust my team. It seems like they've got it taken care of. So that is how we do it. That is how you create a CEO dashboard just like the one that we have. So your next action items are really, really simple. Download the template, follow the steps, build your own CEO dashboard, your own company scorecard, and start executing scorecard-based leadership. I hope you found this valuable. If you did, be sure to like it, drop a comment below, and also make sure that you watch the other videos that I have in this series all about how to create a scalable operating system in your own business. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.